Hello, everybody, and welcome here to Atlanta Motor Speedway here for the Atlanta Night Race 250 Week 9 here for the Prestige Cup Series. Once again here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Hello, my name is Christian Delgado alongside Peter Terrio in the booth. Love to have Peter back in the booth with us tonight. And Peter, qualifying underway here, but Atlanta, a little bit of a switch up from what we were supposed to have tonight. But we're getting ready to go on track to watch some of these drivers set some lap times. Yeah. Echo Park, as they call it now, I feel like can put on some of the best racing in the sim when it comes to Super Speedway. Obviously, with the new Super Speedway package, we've definitely seen a um difference in the way the racing is here at these Super Speedways. It seems a little bit harder to get around and generate runs. And you saw that at Daytona, right? You could really pass if you had some help, but the second you wanted to go out there and make maybe a three wide move or something, you would go straight to the back. And here at Atlanta, just because the track is shorter, it's more narrow than any of the other traditional super speedways. It really does put on a different kind of experience here for these drivers.
That speed built up for the second lap.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you see him cut the apron there. It's something that
And go
these
to the
drivers,
top.
yeah, go to the top of the board as well. Yes, Peter got it. 31.537 for the number one machine. You saw him cut the apron there, down the dog leg, down through the tri-oval. And it's something that these drivers are allowed to do. Obviously, iRacing allows you to do it as well. And you're going to see everybody do that here. We will watch the 7 now of Enright come down and try to complete his first lap. And yeah, you're gonna see all these drivers probably do the same thing up here, come up here, run the top here as you see the 7 Red Bull machine come up here. They start his lap, come up here and run the top, try to get as much momentum to go into this first lap, and then you'll see that 7 car shade down to the bottom.
Yeah, has looked very good this season, and I think that this track really provides a new challenge a lot of drivers weren't expecting coming into this part of the year. I mean, only 2 races left before the playoffs start, and to have something like a super speedway where that's kind of an anomaly, anybody can kind of win here, I think it really opens up a lot of opportunities as now you see Joseph Enright still run some laps, and Gavin Smith goes up to 5th on the charts.
Gavin Smith in the 16, 50, 31.568 for that. Drivers Joseph Enright takes away that 5th spot with 56.568. Gavin Smith in the 16 down to 6th place. Now we have Alex Krasinski in the number 72 with about 6 minutes left in qualifying. Well, I mean, 10 minutes. I'm surprised that they gave the drivers this amount of time to set some laps down, but obviously, it is what it is. And we'll watch the 72 complete this first lap to start probably his heater here for his qualifying session.
Yeah, Kaczynski, first lap down, he's going to go to the bottom side of the speedway and wrap that that white and red line. And that 72 has been really fast last couple of weeks. I want to look back at Richmond where he looked very strong. And obviously I haven't been here the last 2 weeks to witness how he's been running, but it's been a little bit refreshing to see that 72 Ford out front and actually have some raw pace. And we'll see if he can bring it to the high banks of Echo Park Speedway. First lap complete for Alex Kaczynski. 31.687, and that was his second lap. That's gonna be it.
E14 for that 72 machine. As we have now Kendorian Davis out on track, one of your top 5 favorites here. Really strong run for Kendorian. Has been caught up in some incidences to, I think really give him some finishes I don't think he deserves. Like in a bad way, I guess. He's been up front, running upside the top 5, and usually gets caught up in something. But we've seen him start to put some races together. Ran up, has been running it up inside the top 5 all season, and finally getting those results that he solely deserves here.
Yeah, and I think both me and you, Christian, have been waiting for Kendorian Davis to break through to victory lane because, like you said, he's got a ton of speed all throughout the season. He's really had it, and the fact that that 88 hasn't parked it in victory lane yet this season is a little shocking to say the least. I mean, he's just gotten some really bad luck and caught up in stuff, like you said, when he's running up front. So maybe tonight it'll be the chance for that WeatherTech Chevrolet number 88 to break into victory lane and
Kindorian
to the
is,
top.
yeah, Kindorian P did the pull there with a 31.503, and I feel like Kindorian has been one of your strongest super speedway racers here in the Prestige Cup Series, and obviously I think this was a big guess for this 88 to come to Atlanta instead of, Fuji, uh, where we were supposed to come here for week 9. I think this is a strength versus a downgrade for this number 88 machine.
Yeah, and the driver that he knocked off the pole position was Wyatt Youngblood. I remember Youngblood was the pole sitter for Daytona, and he came out. He didn't even have to run the duel because he had locked himself in on speed, but he had a rough race at Daytona. So maybe Wyatt Youngblood getting to start on that front row might get some other opportunities, but right now it's Wyatt Thompson who you're watching take his first lap.
You see the 77 machine right here? And they'll probably do the same. Or actually kind of runs the middle lane, decides not to go up all the way to that top. Gonna run this middle here through 1 and 2 on this out lap. And going back to Youngblood, I got a DM, a message from him, saying that he got some better internet. So the blinking issues for that one machine should be better, and I feel like that's gonna be a huge benefit for Youngblood because I feel like a lot of the wrecks he gets caught up in is just due to, I would say, the lack of connection to the servers and stuff. And he's been, when it comes to the benefit of the doubt when the netcode, the netcode has really bit him, um, when it comes to, when it comes to the netcode of him getting wrecked or getting caught up in a wreck. So I really happy to see that that Youngblood was able to, secure a little bit better connection with the internet, whether it was maybe different service provider, whatever that is, right? Nice to see that that the blinking issues might be subsided for that number 1 machine.
Wyatt Thompson's second lap by is only going to be good enough for P10, 31.596 on the board for the 77 machine. And now there's only 2 more drivers who have yet to qualify in this 10-minute qualifying session. That's James Jones and Zach Case. But I do want to mention, I mean, you talked about the netcode, and we've seen Youngblood be at the front, be in the middle of those bad netcode incidents a lot this season. But we also have a little less cars than normal tonight. Do you think, Christian, maybe that would help this netcode a little bit for some of these drivers where they might have a better chance of making it all the way through the race without issue?
Yeah, I definitely think that, right now 18 cars in the session, 16 set a lap. Like you said, Peter, Zach Case, James Jones, waiting, probably gonna wait out the timer here. I don't, you're gonna see some drivers not set some qualifying laps. When it comes down to the numbers wise for the race, yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a little bit more tame than we've seen. Obviously, we've seen, consistently 25 plus drivers come out every week. I don't know. I definitely think that Monday Night Football. I mean, not Monday night, Friday night, Thursday night. Wow,
Stay night.
Thursday night, the week 1 matchup here, has definitely taken some of our drivers away, which is valid. It's week 1. It's the first game of the season, so but still 16. It looks like maybe 18 cars if Zach Case and James Jones decide to stick it out here. I still think it's going to be enough to put on a great show for you guys at home.
Oh yeah, and Christian, me and you know this. These super speedways, they can really put on a show with a lower field of cars, and this isn't a small field of cars, by any means. I mean, 18 is still a large amount of cars. I mean, you're only a couple short of an official at that point. And I mean, I've seen super speedway races in the past where we've had 10 or less cars, and it's been some incredible racing to watch. So I think tonight, everybody who's tuned in, who decided to watch us instead of Thursday Night Football, or maybe watching both, we appreciate you coming out, and hopefully the Prestige Cup Series can put on a good show for you guys.
I definitely agree. And to make things as cordial as we can, we do have the sports sticker up for tonight. We won't be showing the other one just so you guys can try to keep up with the action. Obviously, you guys are welcome to switch back and forth whatever you need to. Obviously, you're not Sorry to, we're not making you stick around here, but we do, like Peter said, appreciate you guys. Whether you're watching both, whether you're just watching us, we appreciate everybody in here deciding to, take some time out of their night to come and watch this broadcast here at Atlanta. But we have most of these cars up here and graded, so let's go ahead and get your starting lineup here, presented by High Velocity TV up, and we'll get your starting lineup here. We can get up here to these drivers. So starting on your pool for tonight's race, we saw that lap by the 88 Kendorian Davis with that 31.503. Take your pull here, Wyatt Youngblood. Obviously, Peter talked about him being the pull sitter at Daytona. Going to round out that row one. Gio Turpin in the 42, sneaky quick here in these super speedways is going to be P3. And Benjamin Bushnell in the 25, going to round out that row two. Justin Wilkes going to be P5 with Joseph Enright, P6. Gavin Smith in that 16 machine, going to be P7. And Brandon Kiger, a week one winner at Daytona, back there rounding out that row four and rounding out that top 10. Alex Eskridge and Wyatt Thompson in that number 77 machine.
In 11th, it's going to be Andrew Tenold, and on his outside, Max Ford. Then Oliver Quinney in the 41 is going to start 13th, and 14th will be Gabriel Goli. Brian White is going to be starting 15th, and Alex Kosinski on his outside for the penultimate row. And then rounding out your field shotgun, Zach Case 17th and James Jones in 18th as the pace car leads these drivers around for their pace laps.
Like we already talked about, 18 cars out on track, and like you said, Peter, still plenty enough to put on a great show for here at Atlanta, especially. I feel like, when you go to Talladega, maybe even Daytona, I feel like the smaller numbers can kind of hurt the racing here, but Atlanta, you can really put on a good show with, not a lot of cars here, but I feel like 18 is going to be plenty enough here. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at your race weather for tonight at Atlanta or Echo Park. 78 degrees, and with a track temp of 80 degrees with a 68% humidity, so quite a bit of humidity here for these drivers. But I don't think that's gonna play a factor into how the race is gonna be. Obviously under the lights here at Atlanta, and I feel like it's gonna be a good one here for you fans at home.
Yeah, stage break lap 30 for an 100 lap race. These drivers are going to be looking at that. Like he said, under the lights, should be a good one. Pace car is going to get ready to pull off.
That pace car hook hard left onto Perry Road in the 88 and the 1. Two Chevys going to lead us to green here. Going to hand the race over to Barney the flagman. And we're going to be green here for your week 9 race at Atlanta. Coming around to take
Turn 4 into the start-finish line. Kendorian Davis is going to lead that first lap with Gio Turpin sliding in second behind him, followed by Justin Wilkes. It's single file top 3, and then behind them, double file through the rest of the field through 2.
And you see that bottom lane already starting to gain the momentum here as you start to see some dicing up, actually. Some people starting to come up to the top here, trying to make that line work, but you still see that 88 Kendorian Davis up here leading the lane, with Gio Turpin still back there trying to push out that 88 and try to push out this bottom lane. But here comes the top. I see everybody's trying to kind of switch up lanes to try to take advantage of the momentum that you get with these next gens.
Wilkes shot to the top side, and his help is about a car length back, and it's coming. Benjamin Bushnell on the high side trying to get to the back bumper of that Chevrolet, but now Gio Turpin looks to the top, perfectly covered by Kendorian Davis. They both slot back down in front of Wyatt Youngblood.
Yeah, you see Gio, and he's being pretty aggressive here, trying to, I think, take advantage of this 88. Obviously, you see the top lane really getting a lot of momentum as you see Bushnell trying to push that 93 of Justin Wilkes up to side by side with the leader. But right now that top kind of looks a little bit disorganized. Looks like maybe a little bit of a difference on who needs to lead that lane here. But here comes the 42 up there to lead that top.
Yeah, and a lot of the drivers on the top side look a little squirrely. Maybe it's those cold tires. And obviously, Atlanta is one of the super speedways that really tires matter a lot more than, say, a Daytona or Talladega, because it's just much sharper corners, shorter way around, but you're still going at those super speedway speeds. So as this race goes on, these tires could start degrading, and I think we could see tire wear come into play 15, 20 laps into this race. I think it could be very soon.
I see some aggressive blocks here upside the top four here to 16 of Gavin Smith putting a block on the 42. And yeah, I definitely agree, Peter. This is by far the one track when you come down to super speedway racing where handling will matter. And I feel like, yeah, tire saving, or just, I wouldn't say tire saving, but managing the car and knowing how the car is gonna handle throughout a run is definitely going to be a key thing to look at. I don't think there's a way to kind of tire save unless you're in the back there. You see, that purple car kind of on his own, but still inside the lead draft. Maybe he's the only one who can really get the opportunity to. But when it comes to, the tire wear and stuff, drivers who know how the car is going to react here is going to really be at a benefit here. I think the top will probably use up the rears versus the bottom, who's going to use up the right front. So depending on where you want to put that car for the run, will determine what kind of wear you're going to have.
Yeah, and nobody really looks comfortable right now. I mean, for a while there, it looked like, and around goes the 41. Quinny gets turned, collects a couple others in the back. Caution's going to wave, and that started with the 41 off the front bumper of somebody else. But we're going to have our first caution of the night.
Take a look and see what happened to this 41 machine. Looks like got tangled up in an incident here, but we'll take a gander and see what happened here. We'll look at our chopper cam. Look at this 41 machine. Like sitting behind the 77, and yeah, just bad push from the 25 of Bushnell, and unfortunately just grabs the 41 right rear, shoots him up the track, gets the 66. Looks like gets another car up there, and that will be a caution for you for the first time here at Atlanta. See that 41 trying to get that car refired and try to limp it back up here to this pack to obviously take some damage here.
Yeah, and I think Zach Case getting involved in that was just everybody reacting behind that incident, and he got tagged. I mean, you could see it on the replay that we saw there that he was already sliding into that wreck once it happened. So unfortunate for the 66, who was kind of just riding in the back, trying to feel it out. And that's not a good start for a lot of drivers. Only 8 laps into a race that aero matters very heavily. Now a lot of them have damage. I mean, you can see Zach Case, that front wheel, that front right is pushed back heavily more towards the door. There's a lot of open space there at the front.
Probably enough. That Case does not have a meatball. I would expect that much wheel damage to give him a penalty for damage, but no. Still in the fight here for the 66 machine, so hoping that the damage isn't too bad and Zach Case can kind of, hope for some more cautions to slowly get this car fixed. Obviously, Zach, when you talk about kind of the super speedway setup here for these cars, obviously the brakes aren't a priority here because you're really not supposed to be slowing down unless you're going down this pit road, which is something we'll have to talk about here if we get a green flag pit stop, just because of how unique it is. But we'll talk about that later on. But we saw Zach tried to back it down for the wreck, but ended up just kind of sliding into there, nowhere he could go, just because it's not, for the fans at home, Peter, people will always be like, well, the brake pedal's there, why didn't you use it? It's super difficult, especially in these super speedway cars, to get the car slowed down, because it's, the setup is not made to the brake or really slow up that abruptly. That's exactly what you saw with that 66 machine.
Well, and not only that, but you're running so close to everybody around you, and you're tucked up under that rear spoiler, and when you're sitting in the driver's seat of one of these cars, and we'll probably get a look at it at some point later once they're more in a pack and we ride on board with somebody, you really can't see much that's going on in front of you. So maybe Zach Case just saw Quinny spinning out. He's on the brakes, but if he's got somebody pushing him behind him, there's not much that driver can do, and really that's just a product of super speedway racing.
Exactly. When you're this close together, I mean, you can really only see the rear end of that guy in front of you. I mean, you see it in real life, right? When you go on board, when you see a lot of these wrecks, it's just kind of, guys checking up for the wreck and guys not even knowing there's a wreck, and they push through. They push through the guy in front, and then the guy in front pushes, and it's just an accordion when you see, these stack ups when these cautions come out, and a lot of the time, when you see guys getting caught up and stuff, it's nothing of their doing. It's just the guy behind them and doesn't see what's going on just because they can't, right? And yeah, I think that's exactly what you saw with a couple cars there towards the back end of that field here. You do see the pace lights on the pace car are off, and going to 3 and 4, you're going to see that car take a hard left turn, and once again, that 88 and that one will be your front row once again.
20 laps left before the stage break on lap 30. Kadorian Davis continues to lead from pole position, and the pace car goes down the banking onto the flat of the pit lane, and it's going to hand it over back to Kadorian Davis, and he's going to go into the restart zone and get the pedal down, green flag back out here at Echo Park.
A little bit of maybe some tire spinning out of the 88 machine, but I don't. Luckily, not the best start for the top is Gio Turpin jump down to the bottom lane and gonna really slow up the top. As now you see the 16 go up. That's Gavin Smith gonna go up there and try to lead that top.
And I'm not even sure Smith wanted to go up there. I think Turpin kind of forced him with that, and you see Gavin Smith is dropping really bad. He's lost 3 spots now since he got stuck to that high side, and it looked like Turpin just filled a gap that Smith may have accidentally left and forced him to the high side, and Gavin, trying to avoid a wreck, basically just gave it to him. And I think that's a smart thing to do this early on in the race, but he might remember that, might remember not to give Gio Turpin as much room later on when he gets the opportunity.
And speaking of Gio Turpin, he just kind of got the same thing that happened to him. Max Ford up 10 spots. Remember, looked really good at Daytona, all the way up here inside the top 2 already.
Yeah, and Ford's charged to the front, and that Toyota is going to continue as he jumps to the outside of Kadorian Davis, and neither driver has much of a push at the moment. Gavin Smith trying to get to the back bumper of the 88, but he was about a car length off once that move really started taking shape. Ford trying to side draft that inside line alone on the top side.
Yeah, and this is something that's really unique about Atlanta. You can kind of hold your own there with not a lot of help on the top, and I think it's super unique about the Atlanta itself, right? If he was at Daytona, Talladega, we would say like the traditional super speeders. Oh, the 25 in an outside wall.
Right in the back. Benjamin Bushnell, one of the drivers. Alex Eskridge, another. Wow, that was a hard hit for Benjamin Bushnell.
Take a look and see what happened. I mean, we saw it back there live. He took a huge hit here. I mean, this is going to be the second caution this 25's been involved in. Obviously, bad push to the 41, and we'll take a look and see what happened to the 25 here going in the 1 and 2.
Yeah, through that trial. Oh, man, that is... Not sure who that other driver was, but...
We'll take a look back and see. I think that's the 26, maybe? We don't have a 26 in the sim, so we'll try to find who that was behind there. Fight that. I think
it was James Jones.
Yeah,
James Jones was the car in the middle. He's the 54 in the sim. And I mean, it looks like just a really bad misjudgment. And remember, I said earlier that nobody really looks very comfortable out here. That's one of those things. It seems like the cars don't really want to stay in their lane.
It just goes up here in the travel. I thought it looked like maybe trying to go up to the top lane, and I don't know, maybe changes his mind, maybe tries to get back in line, and fortunately the 25's there and gonna send him up the track. And I mean, just hard hit.
Eskridge got some major error.
Yeah, Eskridge involved as well. Just a lot of damage for everybody involved here in this wreck. I mean, a high speed, crash here. I mean, we're going, 150 plus here, especially in the trial, and getting right rear hooked up in the outside wall. Definitely not what you want here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and I think there with Jones, when these cars, especially these next gens, with how tight they are on grip, when you make a big move like that to the outside, and especially when you don't have banking, when you're in a flat part like the tri-oval here at Echo Park, you go to the top side and the car is going to lose some grip when you make that move that abruptly. And I think maybe he just had to catch it a little bit when it came up to the top, and it just trying to correct it, unfortunately, Benjamin Bushnell was right there, and I don't think he did that on purpose, but a huge wreck for only 16 laps in.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked like, sometimes, especially in these next gens, I don't know with the new update why it does do this, but something to think about is when you turn the car to the right really abruptly like that, 26 did, you get loose, right? I mean, it just gets out from underneath you just for the, I don't know why it would, but that's just how with the new update with these next gen cars, that's what happens. Any track you go to, if you kind of just abruptly turn right, whether it's to turn right to jump up to the top or even, when in at another track, maybe like a Chicagoland or something, if you turn right to go and avoid a wreck, I mean, the car just gets out from underneath you, and that's definitely what have happened to that 26 machine. And like you said, Peter, 25 just there, right rear hook up into the outside wall. I mean, that's probably race ending for that 25 machine.
Yeah, and it sucks because he qualified fourth. I mean, Benjamin Bushnell had a great qualifying run today. And I was watching him in practice too, and he looked very strong. Looked like he wasn't afraid to push, and obviously it kind of bit him a little earlier with that Oliver Quinney incident. But it looked like he could be a mostly reliable drafting partner. So to see him out this early is really unfortunate.
I definitely agree. It's not what you want to see out of the 25. Has had a couple of good runs here. Sat on the pole here a couple of weeks ago, so it started to put some two together. Unfortunately, just has not been able to pull the whole race together for that 25 team. But obviously, there's always next week to kind of build on at least the qualifying pace of this car. But like I said, always next week. But you do see the pace car hooked that hard left, going back into the restart zone for the third time. We'll be going green here from Atlanta.
And now it's a shootout to get to that stage break on lap 30, and Kadorian Davis has led pretty much the whole entire way. And now already with 5 cars a lap down, only 18 laps in, could we see this race become one of attrition?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a talking point for the rest of the race. I mean, we talked about with 18 cars showing up here, figured it'd be a little bit more calm, a little bit more tame, but obviously I was wrong about that at least, but it's really going to show these drivers that, you got to be patient, right? We're not even at the end of stage 1, yeah, less halfway, right? And hopefully these drivers can figure out that, you got to get to the end of the race to be able to win it, right? And obviously we see a lot of drivers like the 25. It looks like Benjamin finally got out of that 25 machine. Race over, and really from nothing of his doing for at least that second wreck. Obviously made some contact with the 41 of Oliver Quinney, but I think right now this will really show that at least get you around the end of the stage 1. Maybe you can race for the stage win and then reset after we get that caution.
Yeah, and I think Dorian Davis's game plan is just stay at the front, and I think that's what everybody else is trying to do, because with a field like this, where it was only 18 at the start, now it's, much smaller, I mean, comparatively, staying at the back doesn't really work as well as it would at maybe when we went to Daytona earlier in the season, because when you go to the back, you're pretty much at the middle of the pack already. And that's where the wrecks have happened tonight. Both wrecks have happened towards the middle to back of the pack, and it doesn't seem like it's safe back there. So all these drivers such as Kadorian Davis, Wyatt Youngblood, Gio Turpin, who are staying up front, they're staying out of the trouble, and I think a lot of these drivers at the back are trying to join them. Turpin gets tagged, and what a save from the 42.
Yeah, speaking of Turpin, hopefully that's not commentator's curse right there, but oh, he's going to get tagged again.
No!
Cautional wave.
Wyatt Thompson
involved. Looks like the 93 of Wilkes involved. And I just think that was it's 77 going to back out. Hit the 42 after the fact there, but we'll take a look and see what happened here. And this was kind of, once again, I feel like this was just an association of what happened to the 42 initially. Looks like maybe got some help from the 51 from what I saw. And then when you have a car that slow, just trying to catch it, yeah, you go. The 51 just kind of pushes up the track a little bit. what a save by the 42.
Unbelievable save.
But when you have a car, I mean, everybody's just trying to react there, and I mean, it looks like the 93 and the 42 just kind of come together. I wouldn't really put a blame on that. Kind of, 93 coming up, the 42 coming down, meeting in the middle, and unfortunately getting some others involved. You see the 77 spun around there, but yeah, I mean, could have been a race ending for that 42. Good save by him, and honestly, not bad damage considering, getting really caught up in two separate wrecks there.
Yeah, and Wyatt Thompson also had a really good save through the tri-oval when that was happening. Obviously, that was before he got tagged. But yeah, really, three wrecks, three big wrecks, too. Multi-car incidents, 24 laps into this race. We're most certainly going to go green before the end of the stage, so it's going to be even more of a shootout than it was the last restart. But I think that could amp it up a lot when we come to this stage because some drivers did decide to come in, and I think that's a smart move this close to the end of the stage. Maybe you get some track position once it comes time to really go for it.
Exactly. Flipping the stage here, especially in these super speedway races, is something that I always, think I wouldn't really put down, right? Um, Anybody who wants to flip the stage. I mean, we've seen Endorian and his teammate Wyatt really dominate this, this front three. And I feel like, they're content. I think that one's content pushing 88 out. And everybody else has kind of been all men for themselves, right? Besides these front two teammates, and honestly coming down, especially you have a little bit of damage coming down, trying to flip the stage and potentially going to stay out at the end of the stage to take the lead away from the 88 machine and this one machine. I don't really hate that idea to try to get the track position uh before after your last kind of guaranteed caution with the stage break. And I mean, obviously we'll have to pit regardless whether it's under green or under caution, but I really don't hate that idea.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. And especially because you get to flip the stage under yellow. I mean, a lot of the time in these races, you come to the end of a stage and you got to flip it under green, and you're gonna. I mean, especially at a track like this, you're probably gonna go a lap down. And you're not gonna have any pushing help when you come out of the pits. Maybe to help you not go a lap down. So, flipping the stage, being able to do it under yellow is great, and I think it was a good call. And especially, I know I just jinxed Geo Turpin when I was talking about how good track position seems to be so far, but I think it is still going to be a key point in people's heads is that track position is going to be very important tonight because you want to stay ahead of all the incidents.
Yeah, I see Gio all the way back down there to 11th place, but I don't think he's out of it. We've seen him be up front all race. I think he can get himself back up to the front. Obviously, you see him merging back with the pack. I don't see a lot of damage on that 42. I don't think it's definitely not over for Gio yet. I mean, we're a quarter way through this race, so we'll have 75 more laps to go here. I definitely could see himself working his way back up to the front.
Yeah, and Wyatt Thompson also looks like his car is relatively clean and almost looks like it just rolled right out of the trailer. So that's good for him that he didn't really get much damage in that one because Thompson is going to be fun to watch climb through this field as this one goes on.
You see, once again, lights are off on the pace car. You'll see it take a hard left turn. You'll see the 88. And once again, the one machine lead us back into the Geico restart zone as we'll be going green with 5 laps to go in stage 1.
Wow, a great restart from Wyatt Youngblood there on the high side. He timed it kind of perfectly with Kendorian Davis, and he's going to jump in front of him. So now for the first time today, Davis is going to have a car right in front of him, and it's Wyatt Youngblood with only 5 left in the stage. Can Youngblood grab a stage win here at Echo Park?
You wonder if there's a little bit of a teammate start there where, he counted it down there, let the one get in front, and going to be content pushing him. Remember Wyatt with kind of the bad finishes all season due to the internet is 3 wide for P2, but still all try to keep cordial now side by side there for P3, but the one hasn't had the best finishes. Maybe that 88 trying to get that stage win.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you said that because I was about to say the same thing. Wyatt Youngblood really needs these points, and this could be big-time team playing from Kendorian Davis, because if Youngblood can get those 10 points for the stage win, it could really help him propel himself back into that playoff fight and possibly a championship picture if he gets the opportunity. 3 to go in the stage.
And I really like this top 3 on the bottom. Obviously, Max Ford, one of your better super speedway racer. We saw Oliver Quinney do really well at Daytona at the season start. So, you know, that top really 4 on the bottom, I feel like are competent enough to kind of push the way up there. And obviously you have, you know, your winner there at Daytona leading the top.
Yeah, Brandon Kiger in the 85. He had a stellar win at Daytona, and since then he's been pretty consistent. We've talked about him a lot, pretty much every week, but he's been looking to get back into victory lane, and that 85 leading the top side with Toyota help behind him of Andrew Tenold is going to try and charge on the high side to beat the Chevys of Youngblood and Davis coming to the white flag in the stage.
The 85 side by side with the 41 there, as you're going to see Max Ford jump up, go up there with that Toyota teammate, I guess if you want to call it that. He's going to go try to lead this top, but no! He gets put into the sucker hole, and he's not going to get help from the 85. Now,
yeah, Ford gets left out to dry, leaves Kiger on the high side once again. Youngblood with the push from Davis down into 3 and 4 for the last time in the stage. Kiger gets turned. Can he save it? No. Tagged from Max Ford, hard into the outside wall. Ford spins as well. Sorry, that's Andrew Tenold, and the caution is going to wave. Wyatt Youngblood, your winner of stage 1.
And those two teammates did exactly what they needed to do to get that one machine, the stage win. And, obviously, we see the caution out waving here at the line. We'll take a look and see what happened between this 51 machine. We'll take a look here, and we'll probably look at this 85 as we saw him, you know, get a little bit of contact from someone, I believe. But here comes the 51 of Tenold. Go up there, try to push the 85. Yeah, I mean,
Oof.
looks like, you know, looks like the 85 just kind of not really, it was kind of, you know, all over the place there. And usually when you see that, you would lift. But obviously, going to the stage there, I don't really blame Andrew for not lifting. But obviously, when you see a guy that upset, you know, sometimes you want to lift for the guy to let him save it. But don't see that. And then you see the 7 getting into the 51 there. So kind of 2 separate incidences there. And the 51 and that 85 will go around.
Yeah, and as pit stops happen, Wyatt Youngblood actually stays out along with a couple other drivers, but I think it might be time to pay the bills here for HVTV and send it away to your partners at iRacing. Yeah, and he decided to stay out along with Oliver Quinney, Gavin Smith, Wyatt Thompson. Now, some of these drivers that stayed out flipped the stage, like we had talked about before that commercial break. But Wyatt Youngblood, I think him staying out is a little interesting to me. I don't think he's pitted this whole race. So, you know, the off strategy definitely could work here. Maybe he's going to try and stretch this to a one stop. I don't know. I mean, only time will tell here. And Quinney with a little bit of damage on that left rear quarter panel, and he's got Wyatt Thompson pushing him. I'm not sure if that's going to upset it too much, but it certainly is not going to help. We'll see how good Quinney is now. He doesn't have front end damage, which is good. That's a perk. He's going to be able to lead this lane fine on the top side, but how well is Wyatt Thompson going to be able to push with that back bumper all askew? And maybe this is the time where they just ride. Wyatt Youngblood, Gavin Smith, Gio Turpin now back into the top 3. This is your opportunity to ride, figure your stuff out, and just let the laps log. We're 35 laps into a 100-lap race. We're not even halfway. We're 15 away from that even. So a lot of time left, and while these laps do tick off quicker than, say, a Daytona or Talladega, because it's a 1.5-mile track, it still can go on forever. And as tire wear is going to start to play into factors, I think a lot of these drivers are just going to want to log laps and not have those under caution. Yeah, and how is Youngblood's tires really going to play out as this race goes on? Because first things first, if we go green all the way and he has to pit, I think he's going to be pitting by himself, which is really unfortunate. I feel like him and Kadorian Davis were working so well together earlier today. For them to split strategies and go opposite ways is a teeny bit shocking up here in the broadcasting booth. So Wyatt Youngblood, as those tires start to wear, we'll see what happens pit strategy-wise, because it could really shake up this front. Oh, Wyatt Thompson got tagged in the middle of 3 and 4, and that car is broke. The right rear is hanging off of it. Wow. Oh, Davis got contact in that too. That was Brian White on the inside of him. You know, I worry about Condorian Davis's right front suspension after that. I mean, we've seen how fragile the toe links can be on these next gen cup cars. And I'm looking at him, he's going down pit lane right now. Smart thing to do. Come in, and this is letting Wyatt Thompson Wyatt Youngblood also come in. But Condorian Davis, if he's got that right front suspension damage, he it could impact him. And obviously, he didn't spend a long time in his box there, so maybe the car is okay. Yeah, and I think Wyatt Youngblood, what he's trying to do is make this a two-stop race, and if you can split it about 35, that 35 will give you a couple extra laps towards the end if you make two stops. So I like the call there from Wyatt Youngblood to stay out a little longer than everybody else. Now he's on fresher tires. He's got his teammate right next to him, Kendorian Davis. Now they can work together a little bit, try and charge up through the field, and Youngblood's car is probably going to handle better than anybody else's in front of him. And now this puts new drivers on that front row. Gavin Smith, Gio Turpin, both drivers who have been up front pretty much all night, but now they get to actually lead and have clean air on their noses. It's a Chevy and Toyota, with a Chevy and Toyota row 2 as well, lined up evenly with their manufacturer teammates. Pace car is going to pull off and hand it over to the 16 of Gavin Smith. Yeah, Tenold gave a big shot to the back of Turpin, but Turpin did not quite get up through the gears as well as the bottom two Chevys. Give it bottom three. Wyatt Youngblood is already up to third. The top side is dropping tremendously fast. Turpin really slow up through the gears, I'm guessing, or maybe possible damage on the car from earlier. Remember, he was in that accident, but he is dropping like a rock on the high side. Back in the sixth spot, Zach Case just trying to make a move to the inside at Max Ford. He dipped below the line going through the tri-oval, and Max Ford didn't really want him to have it. And you see he does it there again, but you could see the damage on the left front and actually even a little on the right front of Zach Case in the 66. As this race goes on and he starts to climb back towards the front, obviously that wheel damage doesn't seem to be affecting him much, but I don't know how well he's going to be able to lead a lane. He just went up to the high side with the damage on the nose. It's going to be like a parachute in the air, and he's going to lose a spot, I think, to Oliver Quinney. Yeah, I think he kind of just took the run because, I mean, right there, you got a lot of speed. Your choices are either go to the outside of Oliver Quinney, or, I mean, I guess you could push him, but when you have that big of a run, you might knock him out of shape. So maybe just trying something, trying to figure out what he can do on his own, how big the side draft is going to come into play. And remember, these drivers who are in this field, I know we don't talk about it as much this late in the season, But that next gen update at the beginning of the year, it really did change how the drafting package works. And these drivers have only had a couple opportunities to really test it out. So maybe still trying to feel out how that draft package works. Yeah, and somebody who we haven't really talked about much tonight, Joseph Enright in the second spot. The 7 machine, that Red Bull Chevrolet, has charged to the front very quietly, and we talked about him a little bit pre-race, but now as the laps start to log off and as we close in on halfway, only 3 laps to go till that mark, he has really found a lot of speed in that 7. He's actually going to go to the outside of Gavin Smith and try and make it work. Enright was really strong at Daytona. We talked about him a lot. He unfortunately was not able to break his way into victory lane there, but a lot of speed on these plate racing tracks for that 7. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, and rightfully so. Andrew Tennell down to the apron and then came back up, and Oliver Quinney not expecting it, gets shoved out. And I mean, it could have been a blessing. That top side is starting to work. Enright is really using that side draft to his advantage. And while he was 5-6 car lengths back last lap by, he is now back to the second car on the inside line. So he is working the high side and trying to bring Oliver Quinney with him. Unbelievable charge for Joseph Enright. He ducks down to the bottom to cover off the 16 of Smith, and now Enright goes to the front. We saw him dropping back a couple laps ago. We thought that that move was futile. It wasn't going to work. He was going to go to the back of the field, and he stayed with it, stuck with it, wasn't able to find a hole, and now he's back to the front. He's leading his first laps of the day. Yeah, a lot of drivers going to be putting that one in their memory bank for sure. And Quinney, now with help from Turpin on the high side, they're a lot more hooked together than Quinney and Enright were. But I don't know, it almost seems like it's a little bit detrimental to them. You see Turpin leaves Quinney back on the high side. It seems like when these cars are locking bumpers, they're really unstable and actually kind of lose ground. And I wonder, if it's kind of upsetting the rear end where the rear tires are starting to slip and they're losing speed. And I think that that's quite why Enright was able to make the charge on the high side work so well, was because he didn't quite have anybody right underneath him. He was able to just use that side draft to his advantage. Oh, hard hit for Zach Case. He's airborne. And why Youngblood is involved, that case went over two or three rows of cars after hitting the wall. And we've seen some bad ones in the tri-oval today. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately for Wyatt Youngblood, I mean, he's just trying to stay at the front there. He had nowhere to go in that accident. And you see Case goes to the high side, and he's got Tenold behind him, and Tenold is not, he's not afraid to make moves. Obviously, he's one of the more aggressive drivers in the field. He goes to the top, and Tenold just tags that Case. Oh. I'm not sure which driver it was, but somebody took Zach Case to the windshield in that incident. That was a huge, huge crash to have for Zach Case. I mean, obviously, he was having such a good run. Even with all that damage, it was a little shocking to see him up there with that much damage on the nose of the car, and he looked to be a really good pusher. It's just unfortunate. You know, Andrew Tenold, I think he was just trying to go for a shove to the back of the 66, and it was just kind of the wrong place and maybe a little too fast. And we didn't really end up seeing it, but Gio Turpin actually got turned late in that one by Oliver Quinney while he was trying to avoid the wreck. And Turpin is done. The motor blew on the 42. He's left the session, left the track, and that is a key player of this race who's out of this one just trying to avoid a wreck. Yeah, and Max Ford was actually the driver who took Zach Case to the windshield, and it really messed up his right front. His right front was sheared off, and I'm sure he had a long pit cycle to try and get that repaired. Joseph Enright, though, is going to lead the field back to green. Yeah, very spread out restart there. But now they're starting to bunch back up to go single file, and Andrew Tenold has worked his way up to the second spot. You see a little damage on the right front quarter of that 51 machine, and now he's pushing the 7 of Joseph Enright, and I don't know that that's quite what Enright wants to see in his rearview mirror right now. Obviously, Tenold is not afraid to give him a shove, but after that last incident, maybe he's going to try and stay away a little more from the front bumper of that Monster Energy Toyota Camry. I believe these drivers might have to pit one more time too. So if you ride around at this point and maybe open up the opportunity for green flag pit stops, it could really start to play in your favor if you're somebody who maybe just wants to ride around a little bit at this point and then try and win it on that pit strategy. I don't think it's a bad call, especially if we're able to get there. And there goes Joseph Enright off the front bumper of Andrew Tenold into the outside wall. And the caution is going to wave. And can't say we didn't call it. And Enright's car is very damaged. The left front of that machine is towed in heavily. Right now, going down pit lane, I'm looking at him straight on, and I can see the Goodyear on the side of the tire. So that is not good. Obviously, the left side of that car is pretty destroyed, and that is really unfortunate. I mean, obviously, like you said, he kept his car clean, and he charged to the front pretty much all on his own, and now he is sitting in the pit lane with a, for sure, lengthy repair. Yeah, and a lot of drivers right now are not happy with Andrew Tenold. Multiple drivers voicing their displeasures with him, and it's right now. I mean, he's obviously still up front. He's got that damage on the right side of the car, but he's still in this fight here. We'll see how it affects him. I don't know that he's going to be the best of a lane leader with that right front damage that he's had, and I'm shocked it's not more after, because he had a pretty good contact with the outside wall once that incident happened. So he's obviously not making friends once this race comes down to the end, and especially with as little cars as we have left in this one, he might not really have many friends to help him out. A-Scar is going to pull in once again today. Coming to lap 68. We're well past halfway at this point, and it's going to be Gavin Smith leading him into the restart zone and to the line. And now Kadorian Davis is back to the second spot, pushing the Chevrolet of Gavin Smith with Youngblood in third. The teammates back hooked up to the way they were in the opening part of this race. Kadorian Davis in front of Youngblood, and now it's Tennell who slots into fourth, and then Brian White, your top five. And Wyatt Youngblood, when he saw Andrew Tennell get to the back bumper of him, he keyed up on the radio and said, "Stop pushing me." So that might tell you what other drivers expect at the moment out of the 51 machine. Definitely keeps up with the theme where he's not making friends right now, but it's not deterring him. He's obviously still pushing the one machine, and he's going to try and get to the front. He doesn't really care what anybody else thinks. And, you know, when he pushes and he pushes successfully, they're good pushes. I mean, he just gave Wyatt Youngblood one through the trial that was very good, but it seems like just occasionally it doesn't quite line up, and especially it doesn't help that Toyota nose is very oddly shaped compared to the Chevy and Ford. So it does not do well with the back bumper of the other manufacturers and even other Toyotas. So Andrew Tennell is obviously fighting an uphill battle a little bit with that, but I also think that it's important to note he's fifth right now in points. And with the drivers who are ahead of him, Jordan Fisher, who didn't show up tonight, your points leader, Oliver Quinney, who's been involved in a couple wrecks, Joseph Enright, who was just up front, and then Tennell got into the back of and turned him around, and Gio Turpin. Those are the four drivers ahead of him. You got to think maybe looking for a good point stay here. It could be desperation time as they enter the playoffs. Oh, good save from Wyatt Youngblood. We saw the car shimmy up the track, and, well, Andrew Tenold got the spot. I'm sure Youngblood's not going to be quite happy with him the way he got it. We'll see if Youngblood is able to possibly return the favor. Not, I mean, just try and get back past him. You see now he's pushing that 51 up to Kenoria Davis. Yeah, and right now it is logging lap time, and pretty much every driver single file at the moment. And I mean, there's not a ton of cars, so your options here aren't even that big. If you want to go to the high side, your help might not really form. And, you know, what can you even do at that point? I mean, Joseph Enright, he was very good on the top side by himself, but I think at this point, there's almost not even a point in trying it. There's so little cars. You could wait really long if you wanted to towards the end of the race and make a move later than you would if it was a field of 20 or so cars. Yeah, and we saw it just about a half a lap to a lap ago. Andrew Tenold got out of line in the third spot, slotted back in the fourth, and now he's on the back bumper of Youngblood once again. You see Youngblood's car dancing around out of the corner and through the tri-oval. The one car doing an incredible job holding onto it with the 51 on his back bumper. Yeah, I almost don't even think he has the option to ride at the moment, that being Wyatt Youngblood with Tenold on his back bumper. I mean, he could sit in behind his teammate Davis all he wants, but if Tenold's going to just keep shoving him, it's going to make it increasingly harder for that car to hold on, and especially as the tires start to wear. I know we haven't talked about it in a handful of laps, but we're closing in on the end of this race and very late on these tires. We're about 25 or so laps on these tires, and this tire wear is going to start coming in to the point where it could make these saves much more difficult, and it could open up opportunities where maybe if you're pushing somebody, you could get them out of whack a little bit when you're not even trying. Well, I mean, there's not really much he can do at this point. He just kind of has to mirror drive and he is completely his fate here at the end of this race, if it stays how it is with the line that they have right now, his fate is just basically determined on Kadorian Davis and Wyatt Youngblood. So just kind of ride at the moment, and I think I'm not even as much worried about that as I am about he's been leading this whole time. How is his fuel situation? We haven't had a green flag run this long, the whole entire race, and we don't really quite know the fuel length, the fuel run length for these drivers. So could Gavin Smith be burning a little too much fuel out front? And that's unfortunate. He had such a good day, and it looked like kind of just all on his own, and he was done for the night. And that's unfortunate. Obviously, it was such a promising run from him earlier on tonight. To see it end like that is not good. You know, I think he was just fed up and decided to call it a night. And I mean, I don't blame him. It's not been a good race since he got turned.
Racing isn't easy.
Just gonna start the sim, I guess.
Oh, shit. I mean, I could go like radio style if you want. I mean, if you want to put it back on, I could, I mean, if you want to, like...
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
At the front of the field, Andrew Tenold to the front.
Three wide for the lead. Did you see now the 88? And Dorian Davis try to use that top lane. 7 to go. I mean, it's time to go here for these drivers.
Yeah, Gavin Smith, while those technical difficulties were going on, he got tagged by I believe, Kadorian Davis. And now Youngblood's going to get tagged by Tenold. Saves it. And oh, now Gavin Smith gets tagged through the grass. And the caution is going to wave. Man, Wyatt Youngblood has got to be fuming with Andrew Tenold right now.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that maybe, I don't know if maybe it's like a game that the 51's trying to put on. You see the 16 still trying to recover here. And you know, obviously we've heard, you know, the one machine can constantly say like, "Hey, like I don't want help right now. I'm just trying to get to the finish here." But we'll take a look at 16 getting tagged by, sure if who that was actually. We'll take a look here on our
Youngblood.
chopper cam. Yeah, it looks like Youngblood coming up. Looks like some incidental contact, grabbing the 16, and good save for
Well, you gotta
him.
remember. You gotta remember, Youngblood's trying to save the car still at that point, and the car's not gonna get settled until he even gets out of the corner, really. I mean, a good save from both drivers. And then Gavin Smith just on the apron on the flat part of the track. But uh, we weren't able to quite catch it on the broadcast, but Wyatt Thompson, after that wreck happened and the caution came out, he gave a shot to the back bumper of the 51. He is very unhappy with Andrew Tenold. He's voiced it over the radio several times now. It would shock me if Wyatt Youngblood lets Andrew Tenold win this race.
I mean, he's going to be starting there P2 on the top lane, so he's going to lead the top unless the 51 decides to pick the top. I don't really see that being a viable option, but you see now 4 cars out here. Obviously, you'll have some cars coming out of pit road. You see the 88 in the background there coming around after taking some service. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. You know, now it is really a race of attrition. We've seen some really fast cars, you know, have their night ended early. You see like Joseph Enright, Max Ford, Gio Turpin, Brandon Kiger, lots of drivers. I mean, just been caught up in stuff how they're doing.
Yeah, and in the middle of a lot of them has been Andrew Tenold. So certainly not making friends coming out of this race. I know a lot of the drivers who he's upset aren't even on the track anymore, maybe not even in the session anymore. But when you go to next week, where next week on the schedule is Old Atlanta. So you go there where it's a track a little more I wouldn't say skill based because it's a different kind of skill really, but it's a little more of a driver's kind of track. I don't know that people are going to be cutting Andrew Tenold really many breaks.
Well, it's one of those tracks where you have to be patient with the guys around you, and obviously, you know, I feel like Tenold had a good couple weeks where he was been clean and, you know, driving very respectfully. But you know, now going into Atlanta, like you said, Peter, where the driver's track, you have to be really patient with the drivers around you, really patient with the car, because you're gonna have some guys who are gonna set up that race, so you know, drive hard at the start, try to hold on, versus some guys who are gonna try to save their equipment and, you know, save their tires and, you know, make it up in the long run. And it's one of those tracks that you have to be kind of patient around everybody else, depending on what the strategy is. And you know, coming into there after having the night he's had tonight, it's going to be definitely difficult for some drivers to, you know, want to be patient, and they give, you know, the 51 the benefit of the doubt, not only for next week, but probably, you know, the next couple weeks, obviously with you know, a lot of the incidents that he's been around here for tonight here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and before we focus too much on what's coming next, this is a shootout at the end of this one. It's going to be 3 to go, and it's going to be Andrew Tenold leading the field down with Wyatt Youngblood on his outside, Kendorian Davis pushing his teammate on the top into the restart zone.
Pretty decent jump from the one machine, but no help now. Well, you see the 16 is going to jump out of line there, but now it's the 84 going to push that 51 out there in the turn 1.
And Brian White has shown his cards at the perfect time. He's made his way up to the front. 3 to go. Now it's going to be 2.5 and 2 at the line. So does he have an opportunity in that Bass Pro Shops 84 Toyota on the bottom? You could see on the outside, Youngblood with the push from Gavin Smith, who didn't really want to give it to him. Tried to get to the outside, 2 to go at the line.
Yeah, run from the 1 that was going to put him back to the back end of the 84. Now 2 to go here from Atlanta. The 51 trying to block this 84's run.
Yeah, Tenold still out front. White in second. Youngblood third. Goes to the high side. Help from Gavin Smith. 3 Chevrolets, 2 Toyotas. Tenold to the top. Youngblood tries to go higher, but Tenold blocks it. Now, Youngblood is forced to pick up the scraps coming to the white flag.
51, Andrew Tenold, white flag in the air as he's going to get a huge shove from the 84. Going to try to block for his life to try to take this checkered flag.
Davis gets to the inside of Brian White, forces the 84 up the track. He's going to have to get help from the one car of Youngblood. Kendorian Davis on the back bumper to the high side of Andrew Tenold to the quarter panel side drafting into 3.
Side by side with the 51. Now the 51 going to try to go down and block the 1. Youngblood's going to have to try to push the 53 out to the line. The 51's going to spin out.
Kendorian Davis wins it at Atlanta.
Wow, what a finish. We didn't get to really see it that well as we saw the 51, getting maybe some contact from the 1 machine, but Kendorian Davis finally gets his first win of the season here at Echo Park Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway. And what a race for this 88 machine.
And can you say we called it up here? We talked about him so much pre-race that this could be the night he parks it in victory lane and he goes pole position to victory lane. Kendorian Davis wins it at Echo Park Speedway.
They go back and look at this replay once we see these victory burnouts and see how he won the race there. And we saw how to took advantage of, the aggressive blocking of the 51. Got side by side down in the backstretch and, was able to get the push he needed. Obviously, 51 got a little bit of sideways out of 3 and 4, allowing the 88 to come out here and eke out a win here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and Davis is going to get to burn it down on the Atlanta start-finish line. And finally, 2 races from the end of the playoffs, he gets his victory and gets to park it in victory lane. And I cannot wait to talk to him along with Gavin Smith and Wyatt Youngblood. I'm sure Youngblood's going to have plenty of words in relation to the 51 machine, but if you want, we can get those interviews started.
Let's go ahead and talk to your race winner here, Kendorian Davis.
I don't see him in the waiting room at the moment. And there he is.
Take a look at this finish at the line.
Kendorian Davis, it's Peter and Christian up in the HVTV broadcasting booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Well, how about that? We talked about you a lot pre-race. Once you got that pole position, we said this could be the night that you get to park it in victory lane for the first time this season, and you got to do it, but it wasn't easy. Talk us through your night.
Yeah, it was definitely a up and down night. For a minute, I thought I actually was gonna be out of the race. That when that incident happened with White Thompson going up in the air, but we rallied, we got everything together. Everybody here at Mach 5 and Frost. Great teamwork, great team effort tonight, and I'm glad one of us walked off with the win.
Yeah, walk me through, the kind of the team dynamic here at Atlanta. Obviously, you had your teammate there of Youngblood. It was kind of there, you helped push that teammate out to the stage 1 win, got him those good stage points that he needs. Wyatt's been quick in his own right, just unfortunately, hasn't gotten the finish that I think he deserves there. But walking through the teammate battle there, you had that teammate to lean on at the end there. What was the dynamic of that teamwork throughout the whole race?
It was definitely very vital because if you don't have the right people to work with, you're not gonna go anywhere at these places. On these places, hats off to Gavin, to Youngblood. Like they really love. I owe them this win. They helped that big time. I actually thought that I was gonna push Gavin to the win, but some things happened and they just threw a wrench into the plan. But hey, still worked out though.
Yeah, well, you got the victory, and it's your first win of the season. And is there anybody you want to thank for this win here tonight?
Definitely like to thank everybody down at Frost, everybody down at Mach 5. Both of our organizations, we put on a show tonight, put on a clinic, and proud to have this victory.
Yeah, you sure did. And once again, congratulations, and we're going to send you back so you can celebrate with your team.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too. That was Kendorian Davis, your race winner here at Atlanta. And Christian, I think you have the second place finisher of Gavin Smith.
Hey Gavin, it's Christian and Peter up here in HVT booth. Got a copy?
I do.
Well, definitely an eventful race for you. Really an eventful race for everybody involved here who got to the end. Was up there leading a ton of laps here. We'll actually pull it up here. Led, 38 laps here at Atlanta now. Obviously, kind of a little bit of a wrench in the plan. Obviously, everybody in the league decided to come here instead of Fuji, which due to just I feel like a lack of interest to come here. But walk us through your night. Walk us through what got you up here into this P2 finish.
Well, I mean, really, coming up early into this race, I was just trying to play it conservative, try and make it to the finish. That was my first objective. I mean, Atlanta Motor Speedway, especially with the new repavement, it is a very tricky track to manage, especially in these new drafting track layout. But overall, I mean, what an amazing finish I've had today. Spun out late in the race, not really sure what happened there, but I will take a P2 finish because of the previous races I've had this season so far. I will take a podium finish any day.
Yeah, and Gavin, I felt like we talked about you all night long. You were always up front, pretty much from the drop of the green. How important was track position here tonight?
Very. I mean, especially if there were a lot of cautions or if there weren't. I mean, especially because a lot of the wrecks happened in the back today. I feel like being, especially in the top 5 all day, was very important, not only for pit strategy and for advantage on pit road exit between cautions and whatnot, or between, just getting through the wrecks in general. I feel like being in the front was easily the most hard part of getting to there, but got up front and really stuck out there for the rest of the race.
The 88, race winner Kendorian Davis talked really highly of you, you working really well with him and his teammate there in the one of Wyatt Youngblood. I guess, being able to go 1, 2, 3 kind of with the guys you ran around all race, can't be too harsh and too hard to talk about. But before we let you go tonight, Gavin, is there anybody you want to thank here for this P2 spot here at Atlanta?
I'd like to thank my good buddy Nick, my team owner, obviously. Appreciate it for the ride. Future sponsors coming, hopefully. I'd like to thank my friend Jaden, my parents for the sim, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, it's still a great performance for you. P2, you're gonna have to be the bridesmaid for tonight, but obviously coming out here with a great run here at Atlanta. Obviously going into old Atlanta next week. Coming in here with the momentum from the P2. Hopefully we can talk to you maybe one step better next week.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Have a great rest of the night.
Thank you.
I think Peter has our third place finisher here, Wyatt Youngblood, if we can get him up here in the booth.
Wyatt Youngblood, it's Peter and Christian up in the HVTV broadcasting booth. You got us?
I got you.
Well, you had a hell of a night, especially with that 51 on your rear bumper, and that's kind of what I want to start with. I know you were very upset with him there, and rightfully so. Talk us through basically what it was like racing him tonight.
I mean, I don't even know. I just asked him a few times, just get off of my bumper, especially when it's like when I'm the third car or fourth car in line, I don't need to be taking pushes. Only the first car in line does. So that doesn't cause a whole wreck. And it just turned into a whole thing. But yeah, we had a great night. Just thanks to Mach 5 Racing and Frost Motorsports and Ken and everybody who helped me out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at, with kind of the incidents that happened on track today, we had this new update with the next gen. Do you think that, some of these incidents were caused by maybe the cars being a little bit more sensitive with the pushing and stuff? Obviously, we know that with this new update, you got to be really, cordial and a lot more sensitive of where you're pushing with these cars. Do you think that might be, part of the issues that we had tonight?
A little bit. It just, I mean, it was a little bit of the issue. It just really could have all been avoided if we just kind of held our line and done what we need to do and just keep it off of everybody else but the guy who needs to be pushing the leader. So it definitely played a little bit of a role. You just gotta push straight.
Yeah, and I know you already got to thank some of your sponsors, but is there anybody else you'd like to thank here for your third place run tonight?
Top Speed Graphics, and like I said, Frost Motorsports, Mach 5 Racing, two amazing teams. It was an amazing win for Mach 5 and Ken tonight. So just overall a great night, and thanks to everybody who helps me.
Yeah, well, next week it's on to Old Atlanta. We're going to go back in time a little bit, and hopefully we get to talk to you then, maybe a couple steps higher on the podium.
Yep, that's gonna be interesting. I'll see y'all then.
All right, have a good rest of your night.
Awesome.
That was Wyatt Youngblood, your third place finisher here, and I think Christian has the race rundown results
We can get ready to
for the Echo Park Speedway night race.
Yeah, we have the results here for the Atlanta Night Race 250. Kendorian Davis obviously comes home victorious here. At Atlanta, Gavin Smith, we just talked to him, comes home P2. Wyatt Youngblood rounds out your podium there. Brian White, I mean, what a night for him to come home here in P4. You know, kept his car clean, was quiet all night, and able to sneak his way up here inside the top 5. Andrew Tenold comes home P5, rounding out your lead lap drivers. Justin Wilk, P6. James Jones back there in the 54, going to be P7. Joseph Enright had a lot of potential to come home, to come here and race for one, just not in his cards tonight. Adrian Goli back there in P8, and Oliver Quinney out top 10. Peter, the rest of the rundown.
Yeah, and your final 8 is a lot of drivers who did not end up finishing. Wyatt Thompson, 11th. Max Ford, 12th. Zach Case, we saw him get airborne, finished 13th. Gio Turpin, 14th. Brandon Kiger, your Daytona winner, 15th. Alex Kosinski, 16th. Alex Eskridge, 17th. And then Benjamin Bushnell is going to round out your field in 18th.
We do have the team owner in Lane Frost that obviously won tonight's race. So let's go ahead and talk to him and see what his thoughts are on tonight's race. Hey Lane, it's Christian and Peter up here in the HVT booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, obviously a great night for Frost Motorsports and all, and the Mach 5 guys here. From a team owner standpoint, obviously we saw some calamity throughout the race, but just walk us through, what was going through your mind there. You had, some drivers up there towards the front. Just walk us through, the mindset of a team owner here in these closing laps.
Midway through the race, we had a really good run with Thompson. He was doing good. And then Brian White, I don't want to put all the blame on him, but kind of took him out. So we had that issue to go with, but he became a crew chief midway through the race, so he helped us out in that sense. Just helping Youngblood through it. Obviously, Gavin is one of our lower end drivers. He's on the Truck Series roster, so having him to help us up front, and obviously our alliance with Mach 5 finishing 1, 2, 3. That was pretty awesome to look at. I was very proud of all of them.
Yeah, and your team had a great showing here tonight, and obviously getting to take home some hardware is always good, but how are your drivers feeling about next week, where we're basically going just back in time to Old Atlanta?
So it's Youngblood's home track. He's from Georgia, so finishing P3 here tonight was a big thing for him, and definitely last night in the Truck Series was a big thing for him as well. So 3 races at Atlanta in 2 weeks is definitely something he's looking forward to. Wyatt also does like super speedways. We have a couple guys that are really good at super speedways, but I think right now we're in a pretty good spot in the team standing, sort of at the season's end, and we have guys up there at the top in the points standing right now. So I'm just ready for playoffs, and I'm ready to go win a championship at this point.
And enthusiastic, team owner here coming into the closing end of the regular season, but obviously a lot of momentum coming into next week. Obviously you have the Mach 5 / Frost Motorsports guys coming on 1 through 3. Hopefully you guys can build on this momentum, and hopefully you guys can continue to knock out these wins.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was Lane Frost, your team owner here for obviously Davis and Youngblood, and obviously Gavin Smith back there. Great night for the Frost and Mach 5 guys. Obviously, we heard the drivers talk about them in the chat as well. But Peter, an interesting race to say the least. A lot of calamity, and obviously we talked about it throughout the race. You know, kind of an attrition race here at Atlanta.
Yeah, an attrition race for sure. And it ended up only being 5 cars in the lead lap at the end of it. And I mean, very, very interesting to watch. I mean, like you said, very a lot of calamity, and I don't know if that's quite what we expected coming into it, especially with a little bit of a smaller field than normal. But I mean, still a very exciting finish to watch. Definitely one that I hope everybody at home was happy they stayed around for, because I very much enjoyed calling the end of that one.
It was definitely entertaining last couple laps there. Obviously, even with we talked about it in the pre-race. You don't need a lot of cars to put on a great show here at Atlanta. You saw a lot of calamity at the end, but you also saw a lot of hard, good racing there. And Kendorian Davis, you know, picking up a checkered flag, his first win of the season. So once again, congratulations to the 88 machine. But I think it's about time to call it a night for us here in the High Velocity Studios booth from Atlanta Motor Speedway, or Echo Park Speedway, as they call it now. But, you know, once again, huge shout out to Peter for being up here in the booth one more time. We'd love to have him back and continue to call the coverage up here for High Velocity TV up here for the Prestige Cup Series. But once again, got to give a huge shout out to your race sponsors for the league. Have to give a huge shout out to Backmarker. Make sure to use code PRS10 at checkout for any items that you buy there at Backmarker. Once again, thank you to Backmarker for helping out with the league. Also, Admin Box. Make sure to use code PRS box at checkout as well. And also, shout out to Team Foster, a nonprofit who it's a really great organization to, you know, help some wounded veterans and everybody else, to try to get them some service animals to, you know, get them the care that they need. And, you know, Prestige has worked side by side with those guys throughout the season to make sure that they can try to give as much funding as they can. So if you guys wouldn't mind supporting, you know, Team Foster, really great organization. Also, new sponsor that came on board in the last couple of weeks, 4 Mile paint schemes and editing and clipping. So make sure to use code PRS15 for 15% off if you check out there at 4mile.net. But once again, couldn't do without the sponsors here. But once again, my name was Christian Legato alongside Peter Terrio up here in the HVTV booth. Once again, congratulations to Dorian Davis on your win here, and we'll be back here next week for, once again, Old Atlanta here for the Prestige Cup Series. But the next scheduled broadcast tomorrow, the AWC Pro Series comes back here with the Xfinity machines as they approach their playoffs. And I can't wait to be there in the booth on Friday to call the race there. But once again, hope everybody has a great rest of the night. Enjoy the sports and everything else. Obviously, week 1 of the NFL. Really excited to see the games that are going to happen. But once again, hope everybody has a great rest of the night, and we will see you guys soon.